Thank you everybody for joining today's webinar. I really appreciate you guys all joining, taking the time out of your day. My name is Henry Arnold. I'm a solutions executive here at FileCloud, and I'll be happily giving a little presentation first about us as a company here at CodeLace, which is our company. FileCloud is the solution, the software that we have. And then going into obviously why you guys are on this call, the difference between standard and enterprise features that we do offer. And so without further ado, I'm going to get started here. As mentioned with a little background. So as mentioned, CodeLace is our company name. We originally started with more of an end user product, I believe around 2007 or 8, called Tonito. More again for end users, one-to-one and everything, more maybe like a Google Drive or something, but obviously on a much smaller level. And then around 2012, we came out with FileCloud, the first version. As with Tonito, we had a lot of people requesting this, but for their company. And so at that point, we decided to move over and focus more on an enterprise level, and that's where FileCloud came out. And we've grown quite a bit since 2012. So in the last 8 years or so, we've become compliant with a lot of different needs like HIPAA, FINRA, GDPR, FIPS 140, ITAR, and others if really needed. We've gotten recognized the last 2 years by Gartner and won the Customer Choice Award as well. And so we've grown quite a bit with one of our most important features consistently being security, as a lot of our top clients are banks and governments that we work with. And so we currently work with around 90 countries around the world, and we're getting close to around 4,000 enterprises around the world as well. And here on the right are just some of the main enterprises that we do currently work with. So U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Toyota, Starbucks, NASA, Westpac is one of our largest clients, a banking institution. And so these are just some of our more well-known ones. And then we also have, as I mentioned earlier, this is the Gartner report. We're currently ranked as one of the top on Gartner. Like big reason for this, I would say, is our support team and CSM team. They're constantly there to assist. Most that you see here on here, there's a lot of similar features. Obviously, to be even in the marketplace, you have to have file sharing, syncing, and basics like that. I think we have certain features that maybe set us out a little bit, but I think our support team is really what sets us out the most from others. Whether it's our engineers who will get on a call to help assist setting anything up or configurations or anything like that, or our CSM team just helping you from onboarding to just answering any emails that consistently come in. And so they're always there to assist and always very helpful. So I just wanted to start with a little bit of background, as I mentioned, of our company there. And you're welcome to look at the Gartner report if you want to know any more information from another source, if you would like to, and see what our customers like to say about us and maybe the feedback that they have. But the next thing I wanted to actually go over was, let me pull this up for you guys here, is now going into a little bit of the difference of why you guys are on this webinar. And so before I can actually jump into the difference between the standard and enterprise, I think it's most important if you guys are looking for a solution to know what kind of solution you're looking for. So are you looking for a self-hosted solution? This is a little bit less common in the marketplace. This is one of a big thing that sets us apart. This is where you can host everything yourself locally on premise, bring your own storage and connect to it, a NAS, a SAN, a HDD, and connect. You can install it on a Windows machine, a Linux, a VM, and you can install it in several different locations. This way everything stays locally though, and this is one of the solutions like you saw on there, like Westpac, the banking institution, some of the ministries, or some of the government institutes out of the United States or other parts of the world. This is typically what they go with, just so everything stays locally. Especially a lot of the banks, they have like compliances that they can't have their data residing in any kind of cloud or anything like that. And so this way allows you to still have all these great features, security and everything, but at the same time, you also have everything staying locally. So that's the on-premise solution. The other one is the cloud. This is probably the one you guys are most all familiar with. Similar to most other providers, this is just hosted by us. We personally work with Amazon Web Services. This just allows us to host for you guys in any parts of the world. So whether you need to host in Europe for GDPR compliance, in the United States, just to have it locally, or maybe you need ITAR compliance as a government agency, you're able to use any of those, have it hosted anywhere, and us taking care of everything. And you're still mostly getting almost all the identical features. So if you go through here on our website, getfilecloud.com, and just go to the pricing, you can scroll down here actually and see the difference first between server and online. That, like as I just mentioned, the main features here, they are included. So like the sync and drive, the mobile access, the granularity of sharing and team folders, all of this is all included. The different plugins, typically, they're both included for standard and enterprise, and both server and online. So for the basics, we try to keep it well covered for all the platforms. So this way no one's missing out, because this is usually what most people are looking for, just depending on the requirements, if they need it hosted by us or maybe they need to keep it locally. And then jumping into the actual difference of the standard and enterprise, once you know if you need the online or on-premise, some of the major things I would personally say are why people go with the enterprise. One of the main things is usually the size of the organization. So usually a single install can typically easily hold up to 100 users to 500 users if really needed, depending on the usage and data and everything like that. It definitely is possible at certain points. Some of them will upgrade because of the high availability and clustering that is provided. So, and that's something that comes with this, as well as the premium support that assists you in setting all this up. Actually gets on a call and helps walk you through the entire process and assists you along the way as well. But the high availability then just helps with any redundancy or any issues with too many users accessing it, or if there's any downtime or anything like that, the high availability helps with all this. But this is typically, again, for larger institutions. At least I would say most are starting at like at 150 to 200 that have a high availability. It's very rare that like maybe the 50 or so will need it, but we have had some clients that just have a specific need for this or requirement for the high availability. So that and the premium support is one big difference between the standard and enterprise. Another thing is our server sync tool. As you can see, this comes with the server and the online version. This just allows you to sync two different servers. So to give you some use cases, for example, the server sync for the online version creates sort of a hybrid setup for your solution. So this way you could sync our cloud version of FileCloud to your local server. So this way, if your users are all accessing the local server, but you want to keep it that way, but you also want them to be able to access from anywhere, then you could just have it syncing to our cloud, and then as soon as they leave the office and need to access from anywhere, they can now sign into FileCloud and still access from anywhere if needed. But all that data will constantly be syncing back and forth between our cloud and the server. And then the other way is if you go with more of the on-premise solution. Some of our larger organizations do more of like, for example, a disaster recovery site. So it's like some like government institutions we have, they always have to prepare for worst case scenario. So they have different compliances like that in place. So they'll have a whole backup site in place, and they'll use, for example, either the server sync or, depending on the need, the server link tool. And then the tool will then, for the server sync, will sync the two sites. You have full control over that, the frequency of the sync, the folders and files that are syncing as well. And so this way, what is happening with that tool, what is being synced between the two sites, you have full control over. But those usually, obviously, with the disaster recovery site, are usually syncing everything. This way, if anything somehow does ever happen to the main site, they can just switch on the backup site and go continue business continuity from there. So there's some kind of use cases for the server sync tool. Another thing that I would say is different, some of the different compliances like HIPAA, ITAR, and other things like that with the AWS GovCloud. And those all come with the enterprise features. The GovCloud is a little bit of a separate, but all the other HIPAA and GDPR and those things all come with the enterprise. And then one of the other things is the governance and retention. So for example, just to show you guys this, I'm going over to the admin portal, and this is the admin portal here. And most of these features you're seeing here on the left-hand dashboard actually come with the standard. So the customization, the metadata tagging, auditing and reporting and things like that, user management and folder management, the device management, it all comes with the standard features. Two of the things that don't is the retention policies you see here and the classifications. So these are the main two features within the actual portal that you can visually see outside of the high availability, the support and other things I already mentioned, some of the compliances. These are two of the main ones that you can actually see, at least from an admin perspective. The user typically will never know if it's an on-premise or online setup or a standard enterprise. They typically won't know the difference between that. But for the enterprise here, you can see the retention is the first one I mentioned, and it just allows you to add in your own policies. And so here you can do a retention policy, for example, have it your own description, name, added via metadata. So if, we allow you to create your own tagging system in FileCloud. So you could say that any that are marked as confidential, or for example, are maybe security, top secret, will then have a retention policy on them for a fixed date or forever. So maybe until next Friday or the following Friday. And then after this, it maybe just goes away or it's permanently deleted. And you can do this for different ones. You can do an archival where you can actually select the path that it's going to. So again, you can do the path or the metadata we just went over, how long you want it to go, and then the path that you want it to be sent to as well. So for each of these, you can do different ones. We have different lawyers, labs, and different companies like that. Just top level companies for archival. They do a lot of archiving sometimes, use it. So you have a lot of different use cases for that, depending on the need. And the other one was actually brought in with data leak protection right here. And the classifications is kind of like an extra added on piece, which we brought in for the banking institutes we work with. And so obviously they work with a lot of sensitive information. They have all of our, we all have typically a bank account. So and then a lot of them have our information in some shape or form. And so this allows them or anybody else who's using the platform to classify specifics. So for example, you could classify a credit card number. So this way it's always looking for this credit card number, a French passport, for example, a Visa credit card. You can really categorize anything that you want to. It can be any subset of numbers, letters, or anything like that. You can set it up. You can see the classifier rules here, the patterns it might be looking for. And we can assist with this setup as well as needed. So if you have specific classifications, we can assist with that as well. And then you might be wondering, what is the point of classifying all of these documents? Well, you can actually use the DLP rules here and create your own policies. And the DLP actually works without enterprise features. So you can prevent someone from downloading or logging in from a specific IP address or from a specific username. As you can see here, if you look at the rules, you can block someone from the IP address, the username, the user type, different things like that. But down here is the one we were going over, is the content classification. And so once you select this one and have your CCE rule that you classified already in the rule expression here, you could then prevent someone from downloading that specific document or sharing it, for example. So this way, just to give you guys an idea, I think we might have some down here already open. Gabe created a rule here for social security numbers. The social security numbers is a US based. This basically is your identity card and number. So this way it's very important in the United States, and it allows you, it's looking for the social security number and preventing anybody from downloading it. And so this way, even if you have access to download it, it will actually give you an error message and not allow you to download this data. So those are the kind of rules you can set in place for sharing as well. This way you can classify those. and make sure no one ever shares that kind of information. Perfect. A couple other last things before we wrap it up here. We can scroll down through this a little bit just so you guys can see. The DRM, this was added to our website just very recently, as this is a feature coming out in about 2 weeks with our new UI. This essentially just allows you to send like a little vault with a file in it to a user and allow them to either just view it or maybe sign it in the future as well if needed. We just had a lot of government agencies asking if they could send documents to others just for viewing purposes or sometimes to get it signed or different things like that. And so this allows you to prevent view or from saving it, from downloading it, from printing the screen, or even doing a screen capture as there's a spotlight view. So just add a little bit extra protection for any storage or anything like that. Let's see here, the smart classifications we already went over. GDPR, yes. Server sync and link we went over. The high availability and governance as well. So a lot of those, as you can see, standard support, the premium and standard. So you get a little bit more hand holding with the premium support, but our standard support, it will always be there to assist regardless either way. So if you need any assistance, they'll be there. And yeah, most of the other features, as you can see, the custom branded desktops, another thing that's just an additional cost essentially. We have a Salesforce integration as well with the enterprise features. If any users do use Salesforce, they can integrate with FileCloud as well if needed. Those are some of the main features. As you can see, these are just going over more. Again, the DRM view, like a secure view, preventing screen copy, as I just mentioned. These are all part of it, and some of the compliances as well. So perfect. So that kind of wraps up the difference between standard and enterprise. I believe the last thing is there was a question here from what I remember is the UI. So if any of you guys are interested in the new UI, here you can see a little bit of a difference between the login screens and what it looks like when users sign in. This is the older one we have here. This is the newer login screen here. Looks a little bit more professional, and this will be coming out in the next 2 weeks. As you can see, it just has a little bit more options and control of what's going on and what you can see then as well. So perfect. And if you guys want to test out this new UI as well, you can just go to our homepage and you can actually look at the new UI and even be a tester if you would like to as well while we're waiting for it to be released. But here you can see a little bit sneak peek of what it looks like so far before the official release, so at least. Perfect. Well, if there's any other questions, I'll keep open the chat for a little bit longer. And if not, I hope everybody else has a great day.